Blue Review.
Hey,
Blue
Parker.
Review.
Look at that, Parker.
Happy freaking Tuesday. Almost pulled a Greg right there. Happy Tuesday morning. I'm in Vegas.
That was yesterday.
So, yeah. When in Vegas, I kind of let loose. So I'm happy to be back. I just wanted to make sure that I came on in, said hi, checked in on my Blue Review people, checked in on the chat. But of course, I wanted to see how my co-hosts are doing. Greg, how's it been since I haven't been here in so long?
All I've heard for the last week and a half is let Parker play. Let Parker play. It's not my choice. It's not my choice. So he would be happy to play if we could. But no, it's been great around here. We miss you obviously, and you're gonna be back in studio next week, right?
Correct. I'll be back in studio next week, and I'm happy to see everyone on All-Star Friday. So that'll be a fun time. Heck yes, whether I play or not.
You'll be doing social stuff because
Exactly.
that's where that is what your job is. I can't put that in there.
Yes, chat. I'm sorry. I got to do my job. Come on. Marcus, how we doing, man? It's been a long time.
It has been a while. It's good to see you again. Good to see your happy, smiling face. Things are good. Enjoyed kind of a week off. Just kind of recharging. Getting ready for my other gig, the football thing, because that starts up really soon too. But in the meantime, it's always great to be back here talking Dodger Blue.
Heck yeah. Speaking of Dodger Blue, Greg, I just wanted to say, 5-5 in the last 10, and I've been trying to tune into the Blue Review as much as I can while on vacation. And it's been kind of positive, even though we've been 5-5. I've been seeing some good talk about the Dodgers, good episodes. What are your overall thoughts just on the Dodgers since they had an off day yesterday?
It's mostly that they're just in a rough patch. 5-5 is not great. That's not what anybody wants to see, of course. But the entire league is basically 5-5. Everybody up and down from the American League to the National League is 5-5 or 6-4 or 4-6. That's just kind of where we're at. I think there's only maybe 2 teams. I was looking it up yesterday somewhere. I think it's 2 or 3 teams total that are 7-3 in their last 10. So everybody is having a little bit of a rough area where everybody's, but for the most part, it's positive in the fact that they're hitting well. Your bottom of the lineup is starting to do well. It's not so positive in the fact that Marcas, the pitching staff is not been great and it's starting to fall apart.
Yeah. The starting pitching especially has been particularly, shaky recently. And I did see the quote a couple days ago. Somebody asked Dave Roberts if pitching staffs can go through a slump. And he's like, well, we're in one right now. And I think that's absolutely the case. But here's the thing about it. you look at this stretch and you mentioned them being 5-5. In the grand scheme of things, I think they've only lost like a game in the standings too. So I think that sort of speaks to what you mentioned, Greg. Everybody is sort of meh right now. Right. So if the Dodgers are going to be meh, they've picked a good time to do it, while everybody else is also sort of just kind of treading water at this moment.
Yeah, it's funny. Like in the West, in the National League West, everybody is on a losing streak of at least one game, and everybody in the Central is on a winning streak of at least one game. So that's just where it is right now. Everybody is just kind of going through the motions, trying to get to the All-Star break, and then things will start. Yeah, just trying to get to All-Star break, and then it'll all start picking up afterwards.
Even the Phillies, who we're facing tonight, 5-5 in their last 10. So you guys put it perfectly. Yeah, everybody's kind of going through the motions. Hey, we got our All-Stars in there. Can we please get this break? And the Dodgers, especially, they are clamoring for that break. They need some arms to get rested. They need some bats to get back in the groove of things. But thank you for my little Dodgers recap. I kind of needed that because I'm gonna be totally frank. I've probably been watching more Wimbledon than I have Dodgers baseball, and that's not the best to admit on the Blue Review. But hey,
no, probably not. That's probably not what you want to admit so much.
Went on vacation. I kind of tune into tennis a lot. I don't know why, but I want to say, guys, before we kind of get into a little more about maybe this preview of today's match, I think it's Bob Miller again on the mound. I want to remind everyone that here at the Blue Review, we're presented by LAX. And our friends at LAX, of course, are just changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guests time. And if you want to find more, you could check that out at flylax.com/transforminglax. It was a great experience when I went from LAX to Iowa. I went to Cedar Rapids, boys. It was
on purpose?
I know. You can see my Caitlin Clark shirt.
Look at you.
She's not even there anymore, but I got family up there. So, but yeah,
there
otherwise, there's no reason to be going out there. Sorry, Iowa. But yeah, let's talk Dodgers Phillies. Before we head into this All-Star break, a really great series. Marcus, what excites you most about this series, or just tonight in general?
Well, I mean, overall, it is a showdown of a series that potentially could be the NLCS, right? If things go as they should, which is always questionable the way the last couple of postseasons have gone. But these two teams could be playing for the right to go to the World Series. And what we have seen from the Dodgers, we've talked about it repeatedly on this show, is that in these opportunities, they have played some of their best baseball. I mean, you go back to early in the season against the Braves. We talk about that huge series they had at Yankee Stadium. Even this past weekend against the Brewers, they stepped up and have played some of their best baseball of the season. Whereas, they run up on the Rockies, the D-backs, and it's a little bit questionable about how they're going to play. So I'm very curious to see if the really good Dodger team shows up this week. As for tonight, I don't know about you, Greg. I am, let's say this, cautiously optimistic about Bobby Miller. Just the last few starts have not been particularly great. Obviously, this is a Phillies team that can mash. If you make mistakes, they will make you pay for them. So we'll see if, what Bobby Miller we get. And more importantly, Greg, what Bobby Miller we get in the first couple of innings, because that seems to be his issue. If he can get through maybe the first two innings, maybe we get a good start. But I will say I'm worried, but trying to remain optimistic about it.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards the worried, especially because he's going up against Zach Wheeler, who's a very, very good pitcher. So, yeah, I think for me, Bobby Miller I was actually encouraged by his last start. Not the fact that he gave up some runs, but the fact was that he got out of a bases loaded jam and then came back in the next inning after that and got through that inning to be able to go 6, I think it was. I don't have it on the top of my head, but I think it was 6. And that was exciting for me. I felt like, okay, maybe he can come back and be the guy that we were looking for. He's going to have some rough patches. And against this Phillies lineup, I would expect there to be lots of rough patches. So I'm cautiously pessimistic with this start tonight, but it's really going to come down to what the offense does. But if Bobby can pitch the way that he has started to look towards, then I would feel pretty good. But I feel like against this Phillies lineup, it's just not going to look great for him.
The good news is if there's a silver lining, Bryce Harper is on the IL, Kyle Schwarber is on the IL. I think JT Realmuto is on the IL. So those are 3 pretty solid bats that are not going to be in the lineup. So if anything, that I guess gives you a few openings, a few places maybe you can get some outs.
Yeah, no, it's true, and that's probably why they're 5-5 with all those dudes on the IL. But still, they still have Trey Turner. They still got Alex Bohm, who's probably one of the best third basemen in the game. There's a lot of dudes that I'm still a little bit worried about, and they're still the Phillies. They're still the best team in the National League. So hopefully the Dodgers show what they have been all year. Like you were talking about, you were naming all the teams that they were beating that were good. So if you can get 2 out of 3, if they can win this game tonight, I feel good about winning the series.
Yeah.
If they win, I do think they win with Gavin Stone tomorrow. So then it will probably be a split going to that third game.
Yeah, that'll be big. You guys were mentioning Alec Bohm. I had a quick question. Seeing Bohm, I know he volunteered. He chose to go in the home run derby. What do you guys think, real quick, of that home run derby lineup? Because we're not getting any Dodgers. Teo hasn't confirmed. I know he wanted to do it. But without any Dodgers, without any I
would have loved that.
Big names. I think there's no Yankees either. How are we feeling about the lineup? Ozuna from the Braves, who already has.
Obviously
the
thing to watch here is whether Pete Alonso can win it. Would be a 3rd straight year.
Well, did he lose last year?
Did he? I know I did see
year?
that he's the first 5-time participant in the history of the home run derby.
I think he would just be joining Ken Griffey in being the only other who's won it 3 times, but I don't know if it'd be in a row.
Okay, so it's maybe not in a row.
No, I think he won 2 in a row, and I think he lost last year. I'm not totally positive on that, but
Random side note, we're talking about as we're talking about the home run derby, I mentioned Greg that I went to an A's game over the weekend, and I remember back in '87 going to the All-Star pregame stuff the day before when there was the home run derby. And my friends and I were trying to remember who won the home run derby in 1987. My guess was Mark McGwire. That was his rookie year. He hit like 50 bombs or whatever. So I guessed that. It was not. It was Andre Dawson that won it in 1987. I only mention this because, according to the interwebs, yeah, I know, but according to the interwebs, Andre Dawson won the 1987 home run derby with 4 home runs.
Wait, you said 4?
4, as in 1 more than 3, 1 less than 5. Yes.
Wow, that must have been a really exciting one. Really exciting one.
Yeah, because I think if I remember right, I think the way they did the home run derby back then was you basically hit until you made 3 outs, right? Basically anything that didn't leave the ballpark was an out. So, you have to be very selective about when you swung and like make sure you get one. So, yeah, I mean, chances are you're not going to hit a lot before you hit 3 fly balls or a line drive or something like that.
It's
so
crazy.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, this home run derby is like, there's some good players in this home run derby. Gunnar Henderson is really good. Alex Bohm, like you were saying, Pete Alonso, but Bobby Witt Jr., Marcelo Ozuna, none of these names excite me.
Yeah.
And it's very much what this All-Star weekend is starting to show. I don't know anybody, maybe like 2 guys that are in the celebrity All-Star game on Friday.
I've never actually watched that, by the way.
No, but I mean, the fact it's neither have I. But the fact is that they have a bunch of dudes that nobody knows who the heck. I won't state it again. Who they are. So if you don't know who they are, and you're picking guys for the home run derby that has not much star power at all, the whole weekend is starting to be a little
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the list of celebrities here, and
tell me if you know more than 5.
We're using celebrity very loosely here. So like 1, 2, 3, 4.
And do we count the former players like
no,
Pedro? Don't count them.
Okay, right now I'm at 4. So okay, here we go. I know Kane Brown, the country singer.
I just found out who he was.
I know him. Weirdly, I played in a fantasy league with him a couple years ago. Obviously Terrell Owens. Do we count T.O.?
No, we're not counting the former players. No,
okay. So all right. So Kane Brown, Gina Rodriguez, Tiffany Haddish.
Gino.
Oh, Tiffany Haddish is playing. Okay,
Tiffany Haddish is in it, and scroll. I have heard of Bobby Bones only because my wife has made me watch Dancing with the Stars, and he was on it once.
Yeah, he's a really big radio personality. I think, based out of Nashville.
Okay, so that's at 3. And I have heard of Matt James again. My wife watches reality TV. He was The Bachelor. So that's 4, and that's only like it's 2 that I actually know and 2 that I've kind of heard of. So
right, that's what this weekend is becoming, and it's actually kind of sad that this is where it gets you. Normally, you just know the players that are out there. You may not watch it, but you know who's out there. You know the guys that are out there, and now you don't know anybody. And even these are Bobby Witt Jr., Marcelo Ozuna, Gunnar Henderson, Alex Bohm. Those are based on where you live. You know those if you're a Philly fan, if you're a Baltimore fan, if you're a Royals fan. I mean, the mass of baseball probably doesn't know who all these people are. I mean, I know they're big stars, but at the same time, they're not the Shoheis and the Judge and the Sotos and those kind of people. So that's just a little bit disappointing about what's going on with the weekend.
Yeah, but speaking of star power, though, I mean, back to Dodgers Phillies. 7, I believe it is, players from the Phillies, and of course the Dodgers getting their 6 nod. And I wish Stone would have got in 2 to make it 7. You mentioned a lot of the names that are on the IL, Marcus, for the Phillies, and of course Dodgers have their injury issues as well. But the pitching staff for the Phillies has been absolutely dominant all year. How are you feeling, Marcus, going into this series about the offense? You guys mentioned earlier in this episode that the bottom of the lineup is starting to hit a little more. But, of course, the Dodgers are trying to get another guy to strengthen that bottom of the lineup. But with all that being said, the lineup and the offense, how are we looking going into this specific series?
Again, like on paper, it is a very tough matchup, no doubt about it. And I just go back to, though, we have seen the Dodgers step up and lock in in some of these tougher matchups. We've seen guys go up and battle at the plate, not giving away at bats and finding out ways to scratch out runs a little bit. I mean, you look at this rotation. I mean, they'll see Wheeler tonight. Ranger Suarez has been very good. Aaron Nola has, over his career, shown that he's a quality pitcher. Christopher Sanchez is having a pretty good year there as well. Then you get to the back end of that bullpen, and Jose Alvarado, their closer, has been okay, but he's been good enough to get the job done. So I think the Phillies have had the luxury of having a consistency where they have guys that can give you 7 innings at a time, which shortens that game all of a sudden. Now you're worried about what do we do in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings. You just sort of hope that the guys at the top are going to do their thing. It's hoping those guys in the bottom part of the order, whether it's Miguel Rojas, Miguel Vargas, Chris Taylor continues to hit the way he has over the last couple of weeks, that those guys show up and can keep the line moving, because that's when everything starts to flow a little better.
Yeah, I mean, this lineup is all of it's pretty good, but the Phillies have gotten a lot of help, and just like the Dodgers kind of have too. They have not played a lot of teams that are above 500 just on the season in general. It just depends on where it falls in their record, but for the most part, they have not played very many teams that with above 500 records. Just like the Dodgers really haven't played that many teams with the above 500 records. So you can't really tell who this team fully is. It's true. You can't tell who it is. And for the Dodgers, well, we just know the Dodgers because they have so much star power. They're so much better than everybody else, and they can beat all these teams. But the fact is, I mean, this is as much as it's a test for the Dodgers, it's a very big test for the Phillies too. And they're getting lucky because they're not running into Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Stone. They do get Stone, but they're getting Bobby Miller, who's just had a few starts off the IL. They get the Stone, and then it's Landon Knack, who has pitched really well, but that was not a guy that was in the starting rotation at the beginning of the year, and was really expected to be in there. So it's just it's an interesting series in that both teams are playing very well, but have their issues.
I think to your point too about them not having faced a lot of good teams. I was counting as you were talking. There are 6 teams in the National League with winning records.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because the Padres have gotten kind of hot lately, and that's kind of bumped them up over 500 at this point. So, it is a test, as you mentioned, for both teams, but it's also just sort of a quirk of the way the National League has been this year, that there just haven't been a lot of teams that you look at it like, this is a legitimately good team. I mean, the Padres have gotten hot. The Cardinals, I don't know that there was much expectation. They started the year really, really badly, and they've sort of picked things up lately. The Braves I think they've maintained well after losing Acuna, but that's a big, big chunk out of their lineup too. So it is just hard to objectively look and say, besides the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Brewers, look around the National League and be like, this is a for sure good team that we can measure ourselves against this week.
Yeah, to your point though, the Cardinals, they'll find their way back up, and they're gonna challenge the Brewers for that Central lead, because at some point they're gonna get even hotter than they already are, because they are playing very, very well. They just have too many good, like having Arenado and Goldschmidt. They're going to figure things out, and to that point, that you have not that many good teams. There's not enough bad teams either for them to be selling. Yeah. So when we get to this trade deadline, which is less than a month away now, everybody has a shot. And so there's not going to be, if you're not the Miami Marlins or the Colorado Rockies or the A's or the White Sox, you may not actually be selling. And that's going to make for a very boring trade.
That's really frustrating. That's the frustrating part about the expanded playoffs, because everybody still believes they've got a shot at this thing. So it is harder to have true sellers at the deadline, because, hey man, maybe we get hot. We're not gonna move pieces, because otherwise we might miss out.
Yeah. Right. I mean, there's only 3 weeks left before July 30th, and there's just been no noise. It's like, Dodgers are interested in some things, and then everybody else around the league is like, yeah, but like you said, we're hovering around 500. We have a chance, and I don't really know what to make of that. But I know that the Dodgers specifically, and we've seen reports the last few days come out, that they're really only looking for like 2 things in general, and one of those being the bottom end of the lineup, like get that guy in the 7th spot. Where are your thoughts on that, Greg? Like, who do you think maybe would make a great target? I don't know if you guys have gotten into this on Monday, but do you have any names in mind?
Down, well, I mean, not names specifically. I think there's there's positions of need. I think that we were talking about, who was it in for the Mets, Marcus, that we were talking about that would have been a good pickup. It was Lindor. It was the outfielder.
Harrison Bader.
Harrison Bader.
Yeah,
I think
Bader.
that's the type of guy that could that could really do well. I mean, even Tommy Pham was a guy that has come up and talked about. It's really since the summer, the winter. It's so weird with baseball. It's since the winter. So there's guys out there. It's positions of need. Finding a guy that's in the outfield. Finding Luis Robert, that he's not going to be down in those lower spots that you were talking about, Parker. But somebody there, they will find somebody, and we're going to be like, oh, I wasn't even thinking of that dude. So
true.
I don't know if you.
Yeah. I mean, I think Bader's kind of the guy. I'm interested because I think when you talk about adding a guy like Bader, then it becomes a question of who gets moved. And I know we talked about this with Doug McCain in the past. You know, if there's a place where the Dodgers are semi-loaded, it is in the outfield, because you've got a lot of guys that you're sort of still kind of waiting on. Like, I think at this point, Andy Pages has locked in his spot. James Outman looked really good in Oklahoma City. What is he going to do now that he's back up here and maybe getting some more consistent at bats? Do you move him there? We talked yesterday about Miguel Vargas and trying to get him some ABs and playing him maybe over at second base. Teoscar is going to play regularly. Jason Hayward, when he is healthy and ready to go, you got to find some at bats and innings for him. So bringing in a Harrison Bader sort of adds to that issue of, okay, well, one of these guys has to go, and you got to start to look at who is the odd man out in that situation. And I would say, I just having run down that, James Outman, is he kind of the guy at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, I figured James Outman is probably on his way out. It's sad too, because it's probably a little bit too early. But if you're trying to win a World Series this year and into next year, and as many as possible in a row, is James Outman the guy that is going to get you there this year or next year? Maybe, but that's a decision for Andrew Friedman. And Andrew, just doesn't seem, the fact that he did push him down back down to AAA. I just don't think that they're kind of just showcasing him now and like, hey, look, he played really well in AAA. He came back up. He's playing decently. Let's move him for a bigger piece. This is somebody that we can actually get, for a Garrett Crochet or Luis Robert or Randy Arozarena or whatever it happens to be.
Well, I think that's the issue, right? If you're going to move Outman, do you move him for Harrison Bader, or it's got to be Harrison Bader and some other things involved, right? Like if you're going to move a guy like Outman, who still has that potential, still has that pedigree, I want it to be for a Crochet, for, do you throw in, is it something where you package him and you get Bader and Lindor? I think if you're moving Outman, you got to be thinking a lot bigger than just one smaller piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Because when they sent him down, my thought was, okay, he's not playing well. He's not going to be able to come back up. And you're going to try and move Lux and Outman together to try and get somebody on that big piece. And that's still very, very possible. But yes, I agree that if you're going to move somebody that's so young, so cost controlled, and has shown that he has the ability to play in the big leagues, it needs to be for somebody big.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I know we're getting close to the end. I'll have one last quick little question, one last thought. With Wheeler on the mound today, I believe he's only given up 10 home runs this year. Do we see anybody in this Dodgers lineup hit one out tonight? And if so, who?
Well, Will Smith can't stop hitting home runs lately.
Exactly.
So he's my prime candidate at this point.
You know what? I'm going to go with the guy. I'm going to go with Miguel Vargas. He's been starting to hit better, and I don't know if he's in the lineup tonight, but maybe it's a pinch hit. But I think they're going to start giving him a runway. I would like to see him get a jack here.
Yeah, Vargas would be really nice to see. I see him and Shohei having a nice little bromance as well. So we love to see the chemistry keep growing. But Wheeler also 119 Ks on the year, so this is going to be a tough matchup for the Dodgers. But I'm super excited to watch it. I will tune into this one because my cousin, her volleyball games end early, so I'll be able to watch some baseball.
Perfect.
Super exciting. And we'll react tomorrow from 9:30 to 9:55. But again, I just want to say I'm happy I was able to be back. I want to say thank you to Marcus and Greg for always carrying and doing a great job on the Blue Review. And lastly, thank you to LAX, our people out there in Los Angeles, International Airport, doing their thing. I've been Parker Bell, and this is the Blue Review. Again, 9:30 to 9:55 tomorrow. Check in.